How's it going, guys? Dynamite here, coming to you as always from the Digital Warfare 24/7 forums. And I know I've been putting out a lot of Titanfall content recently, but I do want to emphasize that Call of Duty is always going to be a part of this channel. Now, that being the case, today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is an overview of my absolute favorite class in Call of Duty Ghosts. Usually about halfway through the lifespan of a Call of Duty title, I am going to fall into one class that I can just always fall back on, always have it be consistent for me, and always be able to use it for a variety of different game types. So what I'm going to be doing is giving you guys an overview, and starting things off, let's talk about the weapon that I've chosen in this case. It is going to be the Vector. Now, I do know that the MTAR is a more popular choice in the SMG department. It's probably one of the most commonly used guns in this game. On the competitive circuit as well, you are going to see the MTAR a lot, but you are also going to see a couple pros that prefer the Vector. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think some people can do better with the Vector, and myself being one of those people. Now, the Vector is going to have a faster reload cancel, so you're going to be able to get bullets back in the chamber a lot faster, even though the Vector is going to have a smaller mag size than the MTAR. Now, the Vector is also going to have a longer 3-hit kill range with the MTAR, which you can see I've augmented here with the muzzle brake. Now, most people are going to use the muzzle brake as well on the MTAR, but all things being equal, that's going to still leave the Vector with an advantage in that situation. Now, another thing that I really like about the Vector is that it has extremely predictable recoil. Its recoil values to the left and right are exactly identical, whereas they're skewed on the MTAR. So the Vector, the main recoil you're going to have to compensate for is vertical. And so your bullets are going to go more or less right in the vertical line that you shoot at. So long as you can line up your shot, and so long as you can see enough of your target, you're going to be able to get the kill out to longer ranges than I can comfortably deal with when it comes to the MTAR. Now, another huge advantage, for me at least, when it comes to the Vector is the fact that I don't feel like I need to use grip. Once again, I was talking about the difference in recoil patterns. I don't feel like I need the grip. I feel like the Vector has really controllable recoil, and what this allows me to do is it allows me to put on a red dot sight, which is really great for me. I feel like the red dot really increases my accuracy at range. I know a lot of people on the MTAR, they're going to be using muzzle brake and the grip in order to get the most out of it, and I just can't do that. I cannot stand the iron sights on the MTAR. The iron sights are going to be a little bit more manageable on the Vector, but I still don't feel like I can get shots on at long range nearly as accurately as I can with the red dot sight. So just to review, Vector with red dot and muzzle brake is going to be my choice there. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about some of the perks that I've come to prefer in this game. Now, the first one is going to be toughness. Toughness is something that I feel like is essential. It's like the stopping power of this game. Basically, it's going to lower your sway and lower your flinch. I feel like the ideal situation would just be to lower flinch by default and take this ability out of the perks lineup in Call of Duty, but that not being the case, it really is something that I have to equip to do well with this class setup. I am also going to be running a combination of Dead Silence and Amplify, which is going to allow me to stay silent while hearing people all around me. I use this to my advantage a lot, especially when I'm attacking or defending objectives, because if I just stay still for a split second, I'll be able to hear exactly where they're coming from and adjust my reaction accordingly. Now, in addition to this, I'm going to be running Marathon. Marathon, just in the support SMG role that I like to play, allows me to traverse the map very quickly. It allows me to run back and forth between objectives and position myself advantageously for confronting the enemies. Now, also, I am going to be running Hardline on this particular variant, but I do swap out these other 2 points depending on the situation sometimes. Like, I might put on Sitrep if I'm noticing a lot of IEDs being spammed. I might swap it out for C4 and Smoke if I need to play especially hard on the objective, and I might swap it out for Blind Eye too if there are enemy kill streaks that need to be taken care of or just straight up avoided. So those are the perks that I'm generally going to be using. I did omit Ready Up, that is what I'm going to be using, just to give myself a little bit more reaction time, especially since I'm going to be sprinting so much with Marathon. So moving on from there, let's talk about the kill streaks I'm using. In this particular game, you'll notice I actually have the Attack Dog as my first streak. That is not typical for me. Usually I'm going to be using the IMS, and what the IMS allows me to do is I can capture a flag, then set the IMS on there, and that is going to allow me to run off to another part of the map while the IMS does my dirty work for me of defending that objective. Now, what I usually segue my IMS into is going to be the Trinity Rocket. I used to hate really badly on the Trinity rocket when I first started playing this game. I thought it was worthless even though you get the 3 missiles. I thought it was way overpriced, but actually what you can do is there are some tactics you can use to make the Trinity rocket better. You can wait and listen until you hear the enemy capturing objective notification, and then you can send down the Trinity, especially since they'll announce like what objective the enemies are going to be on, and you can know whether or not it's an open one that you can get your Trinity rocket into, and in that way you're also going to get more points for defending the objectives. So that's a really good way to make better use of your Trinity missiles. You can also bring up the scoreboard real quick and see how many enemies are alive before you call it in. I'm not sure I do that in this game, but that can be another thing that helps you out. Now, the Trinity missile is going to allow you to segue nicely into that Griffin. Now, I have selected the Griffin in this case. If it's a game where I feel like I'm going to be needing to play the objective more aggressively, I'll swap that out for the attack helicopter, because that's something that allows me to still run around the map while it's getting me kills. The Griffin, however, in terms of absolute potential devastation for the cost in kill points that you need to acquire it, is just unrivaled in this game. I think the Griffin is absolutely what you want to be aiming for. The attack helicopter, or the chopper gunner rather, is only going to be a couple more kills, but I don't know if it really gains that much more effectiveness. If you know how to use a Griffin properly, keep it behind cover, and lead your targets with the missiles, you can absolutely wreck with this kill streak. I would highly advise using it. So that's a overview of basically all the assets that I usually use in my favorite class. I can remember back to Black Ops 2 when the Scar H with a suppressor and extended mags was pretty much all I used, and now this has become pretty much my go-to class for Call of Duty Ghosts. It's something that I just feel extremely comfortable with. I feel like the Vector lets me engage really advantageously at a multitude of different ranges, and it's something that just is a real joy for me to play with. I almost have it gold at this point, just need a couple more lean kills. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about the role that I usually see myself playing in Call of Duty. In Black Ops 2, I would call myself more of a supportive AR player. I would sort of sit back and watch the objectives, push up when I needed to, and I've transitioned a little bit in Call of Duty Ghosts. I'd call myself a support SMG player now, so I'm not necessarily the guy that's going to be jumping on objectives all the time, but what I'm going to try to do is keep the enemies away from our objectives and just get myself into as advantageous a position as possible to contest the objectives. Just get really good positioning and keep the enemy team back in their spawn. So, and then I'm also going to be someone that does focus on objective when I need to. In this game, for instance, it's going to be a pretty close game. You'll notice I do my best to capture some flags to make sure that we end up winning. So that's a quick overview of my favorite class, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and get ready for some more Titanfall gameplay coming your way shortly, because once that drops on March 11th, we are going to be having a lot of that. We are always still going to have Call of Duty, though, especially around the times that new map packs drop. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.
You heard the news, everyone's talking. Life is good cause everything's awesome. Lost my job, it's a new opportunity. More free time for my awesome community. I feel more awesome than an awesome possum. Dip my body in chocolate frosting. 3 years later I shot the frosting. Smelling like a blossom, everything is awesome. Stepped in mud, got new